Hi guys, so we are going to talk about immutability in Python. So if I want to talk about immutability, that means there is something which is mutable also, right? So let's talk about mutability first, right? Let's talk about mutable data types, and then let's take those examples and then you may be able to understand it better. So few of the mutable data types that you can see is list, set, dict. Okay, these are the ones which you can actually add it. So let me quickly take an example. Let's say that you create a list X, okay, and you insert 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, into this list. Now, if you want to change something into this list, for example, let's say you want to add something, okay, so you can do that. Like, for example, you want to add, like, let's say 5 at the end. And if I print the list now, after adding 5, it will contain 5, right? So I'm actually able to edit this list, right? Now, there is one more scenario that you need to understand is, one more thing that you need to understand is that this list is not changing when I'm adding something. And how can I make sure that, this list is not changing? I can look at its ID. For example, if I print ID of X here, and if I print ID of X after appending, the 5 value, then it will come out to be same. Okay. So let me show you. If I rerun this code, what you will see is that these IDs are exactly same. This basically means the object which was a list, it did not change, it remained the same, right? You did not created a new object and then you did not inserted 5 into it. What you did is you actually inserted 5 into the same exact object of list. Okay, similarly you can see sets are also mutable. So for example, in sets, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, you insert these numbers, right? And let's say you want to insert something else also. You can do that in sets. You can say x.add 5, okay? And then you can print x and it will contain 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you are able to add it, right? Add it basically means either adding or removing, right? So one more thing, let me show you that, here also the ID is not changing. For example, ID of x here, and after adding this is going to remain same. See, it did not changed. It is the exact same ID, right? ID is nothing but it identifies that, this is the object in memory. This is the location where this object is stored in memory. So if that location is not changing, this basically means that, you are not creating a new object. Okay. So, okay. One more thing. I can also remove items from this list. So for example, I added an item, right? I want to remove, I can remove that. For example, I can remove 3 from this set. If I print X now, it's going to contain 1, 2, 4, and 5 and not 3. And one more thing, if I print ID now, it's going to be same as what it was earlier. For example, 44 233 15232, 44 233 15232, right? Okay. Now, other than this, we can actually remove, and there are multiple ways of removing things from a list, set, or a dictionary. Just for example, just in case I want to change something in this list, let's say I rerun this list code, okay, and I want to change something. For example, let's say I want to change the 0th index position to something else, like let's say apple. And then if I print X, it's going to contain apple at the 0th index location, right? So this basically means we can definitely edit a list, right? And we are not even changing the ID while doing all of this stuff. And if I want to remove something, I can do that. For example, in this set, in this list X, I can remove, let's say 4, okay? And if I print X, it's going to contain apple 2, 3, and 5. Similarly, in a dictionary also, we can do certain things. For example, let's say dict X, okay? And let's have Python 3 and Java 8. And if I want to edit something, I can do that. For example, I can say, hey, I want to make Python equals to 5. I mean, I want to have this dict text now in which Python will be pointing to 5 instead of 3. So I'm able to edit that, right? And if I want to, let's say I want to remove something from the dictionary, I can do that as well. Okay. For example, if I say pop item, okay, dict text.pop item, it's going to remove one of the key value pair. For example, it removed Java and 8, right? And if I print dict text, it will contain only Python 5 now. So definitely you can understand that in list, dictionaries, and sets, you can do a lot of editing, right? Let's talk about immutability now. Okay, we will be taking immutable data types. So strings are immutable. Okay, tuples are immutable. Okay, other than these, there are some other data types also, like for example, you want to talk about int and float. Okay, you can talk about booleans, like true and false. Right, and there is one more, like none. Right, so these things we cannot talk about immutability or mutability here, because they basically are very individual or non-collection sort of objects, right? So that's why there is no purpose fulfilled when we actually talk about immutability or mutability in these. So we are going to talk about string and tuples now. So in strings and tuple, they are immutable, right? So let's say I create x is equals to Python. Okay, and in here I want to change the 0th character to something else, let's say m. I will not be allowed that, and you will see something like this error, which will string object does not support item assignment. Right, string object does not support item assignment. Similarly, and there are no other operations also in strings which you saw, for example, remove or add or append in all the other ones in list, sets and dictionaries. And also one thing strange happens. Sometimes people think that I'm actually able to edit a list. I'm actually able to edit a string. How do they think is, for example, right now x is this Python, right? So for example, if I say x is equals to x plus mango, then they will be like, when I do this, I actually get Python mango. So did I actually edit the string here? No, I did not. So what actually happened is Python have this feature here that, when we do some kind of concatenation, when we do some kind of addition on strings, it creates a new string in the memory, and it actually makes x point to that new string. Okay, so for example, if I say x is equals to Python, okay, and if I look at id of x, okay, and then what I do is I go ahead and do x is equals to x plus mango, and then if I print id of x, right, and then maybe let's say I want to print x as well, then what you will see is x is Python mango. But what you can observe directly is the ID is actually changing. It was 4.3 and it is now 4.4, right? So these two IDs are different. This basically means these two are two different objects. You did not edited this string, you created a new string from the previous string that you had. Okay, so that's why strings are immutable. Now the one of the most important immutable thing in Python is actually a tuple. Okay, so how do you create a tuple? You can create a tuple like this. For example, with round brackets, you can say 3, 4, 5, right? And they look very much like a list, right? So probably you would be like, okay, let's say I want to change 0th index position to something else instead of 3. Let's say I want to make it mango. It will not allow you to do that. It will say tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay, this basically means tuples are not editable. Okay, tuples also does not have any kind of operations like in list, append, or other stuff like remove or pop, which can actually edit the tuple. Okay, also what you can observe is there is one more thing which you can observe, that though tuples looks like you cannot change anything which looks to be inside these round brackets, but wherever tuples are present you cannot edit them. Okay, but wherever lists are present you can edit them. I mean, let me write that statement. Wherever lists are present you can edit them, and wherever tuple are present you cannot edit them. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So for example, let's say you create a tuple. Okay, you create a tuple 1, 2, 3, and after that you create a list inside this which have, like, let's say Python and Java. Okay, now you have this that you cannot basically change this number 1 to something else. For example, at 0th index location I cannot change it to 10, right? It will give me a tuple object does not support item assignment. But this list is here, and I said that wherever list is present you can edit them, right? So what I can actually do is I can actually do anything with this list. Okay, and it will not affect the immutability of a tuple. Why? Because tuple is still stored at the same memory location. What actually happened is the items in the list changed, and you can observe if you have watched my previous session on how how objects are stored in memory, you can actually understand that when you actually try to store this kind of tuple, what actually happens is you give it an ID like ID 5, right? And at ID 5 you have a list which is stored, right? So what actually happens is you cannot change this ID 5 value. What you can definitely change is what is present at ID 5. For example, it is pointing to ID 6 and ID 7. It can change it to change it to something else also, because what you are changing is you are definitely changing a list and not a tuple, which is here. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you that. For example, if I want to change something inside that list which is present at 0, 1, 2, 3, okay, at 3 this list is there. So at 3 index location I want to give it one more index which will be treated for the index of that list, and I want to say instead of 0, instead of Python, I want to have, let's say, magic. Okay, now if I go ahead, this is run, right? So this did not give any error, and if I print this, you will see it contains magic and Java instead of containing Python and Java. Also, I can add and I can remove and I can do anything with this x30, right? Because what it actually does is it basically changes whatever is at ID 5, but not the value ID 5 in the tuple. Let me show you in this place also with a different editing. So for example, at x I think 3. Right, x0, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3. I want to, let's say I want to add something. Okay, let's say banana. Okay, now what you can see is what actually happened is there is no change which happened to ID 5. It is still pointing to the same list, but at ID 5 we have one more element, right? ID 8, which is pointing to banana. So that's what it is, guys. That's what the meaning of immutability is, that you cannot change this value like ID2, ID3, ID4 or ID5. What definitely you can change is that where ID5 is pointing to, if that thing is mutable, you can edit that. Similarly, for the other point, for example, you create a list, right? You create a list like, let's say 1, 2, 3, and here you create a tuple where you actually store, let's say, kiwi and peach. Okay, you cannot go ahead and say that that at third index position in the list, which is a tuple, right? You cannot go ahead and say that I want to change kiwi to something else, like let's say mango. You cannot do that because tuple, wherever they are present, they are immutable. Okay, so tuple object does not support item assignment. Okay, so yeah, this line is actually important. Similarly, you can say that for strings as well. If string, wherever they are present, right, they you cannot edit them. Okay, and similarly you can add the line for sets and dictionaries as well, that wherever sets and dictionaries are present, you can edit them. I hope the lesson was useful, right? Probably if you missed this thing, that how actually objects are stored in memory in Python, and how actually I'm trying to convey my message here by showing you these examples, right? With these arrowheads. If you want to understand more about it, you can watch my another video on my channel, which is how objects are stored in memory in Python. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys. Keep watching.